currencies. Already, some economic experts have expressed varied views on pumping more dollars into the economy to shore up the cedi. But the General Secretary, Solomon Kote, wants government to come up with measures to address the problem.
What could stabilize the cedi is for us to have the manufacturing companies working. When our exports begin to exceed our imports, then we can see the stability of the cedi. But the kind of situation we see around now, in fact, the entire economy is more of ton-a-ton, buy and sell. And those ones, you can use it to stabilize the currency.
He again asked government how much it has provided as stimulus packages for companies under the one district, one factory policy.
He can also spare us by telling us how much of the stimulus package have been doled out, to the existing factories and industry that are looking for help to enable them really actually start. So for ICU, these are areas that we believe if workers, are well informed about these things, we will appreciate the performance and progress of this government.
He also wants issues on utility tariffs and the current intermittent power outages addressed promptly.
One other thing we're also seeing and experiencing is you are there in an area, then one phase will go off, another phase will come on, another phase will go off, which is also becoming too intermittent. And therefore, if the state of the nation is anything to go by on this, our part.
The union is hoping the State of the Nation address will also focus on job creation and rebuilding confidence in the banking sector.
Meanwhile, economist and head of finance at the University of Ghana Business School, Professor Godfrey Bokwin, wants government to spell out steps being taken to rope in 4.5 million people in tax-paying position, but not paying the tax at the moment. The economist expects the president to be honest with Ghanaians in his State of the Nation address by spelling out the progress made so far and the steps being taken to address the challenges.
President Akufo-Addo is expected to deliver the State of the Nation address on Thursday, February 21. Economist and head of finance at the University of Ghana Business School, Professor Godfrey Bokwin, expects the president to acknowledge where the country did well and where it has not.
I think the president will have to be honest with us, acknowledge where we have done well, and where we haven't done well, he should be fair and tell Ghanaians, and then tell us what the challenges have been. We do know that we have challenges.
The economist wants the president to spell out steps to improve revenue mobilization.
Revenue envelope is not doing what the way it should. People are not paying taxes that they have to pay. We have over 6 million people in tax-paying position. Just about 1.5 million people are paying. We can't make progress with that. Statistics. So I think that what is important is a certain level of truthfulness on the part of government, that these are the challenges, but these are the progress that we have made. These are the steps they are putting in place. It's as simple as that.
The State of the Nation address is in accordance with Article 67 of the 1992 Constitution of Ghana, which states the President shall, at the beginning of each session of Parliament and before dissolution of Parliament, deliver a message on the state of the nation. The delivery on Thursday would be the third under the governing New Patriotic Party, NPP, since it regained power in 2017.
In a related development, 2 labor unions have asked government to be decisive and outlaw vigilante groups. The ICU and CLOCSAC also want the security agencies to arrest and prosecute any such groups whose actions they contend could undermine the country's peace and democratic credentials. They spoke to our reporter, Daniel Opoku.
The Industrial and Commercial Workers Union, ICU, expressed grave concern about the spate of activities of vigilante groups. The union noted that the vigilante groups are formed and funded by political parties. It cited the Ayawaso West Wuogon by-election violence and the shooting at the NDC office in Kumasi as threats to democracy.
These are not legally registered, institutions, but those who formed them, those who created them, they are there. So they need to disassociate themselves from them, and then they will go. But if we are being compelled to use law to get them out, then we expect the president to do something in that direction.
The Executive Secretary of the Civil and Local Government Staff Association, CLOCSAC, Isaac Bampuado, is of the view the activities of land guards have culminated into vigilante groups.
Land guards, they are vigilante groups that businessmen have set up, and now we have them installing chips. Now they have expanded their territory. They are not influencing politicians who are supposed to be elected. So vigilantes have been with us, not until we stop this land guard canker. I'm afraid there's nothing we can do.
Both unions expect a clampdown on their activities.
Let me now take you on a trip down memory lane. And you would recall that in delivering last year's State of the Nation address, the President, Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, expressed grave concern about the unemployment situation in the country. Now, he explained that transforming the economy requires an educated and skilled labor force to make the economy more globally competitive. The introduction of free senior high school, which he said has benefited 90,000 more high school students, is key to reducing unemployment in the long term. Now, in achieving this, he explained the government should make expanding technical and vocational education a priority.
The capitation grants and to confound the skeptics and professional naysayers, we have implemented free senior high school education. We need an educated and skilled workforce to be able to operate the modern economy we are creating. The free SHS is a start towards this goal. It is a policy that has come to stay. We are reforming the school's curricula to deal with the weaknesses in our education system and lay greater emphasis on science, technology, engineering, mathematics, reading, history, and technical and vocational schools. And look at the national budget. We'll tell you that we are spending a lot of money in education. Also important that the reform of our schools' curricula should instill in our youth respect for the traditional values of discipline, fellow feeling, hard work, honesty, integrity, and patriotism, without which no healthy social development can occur.
A while longer on expectations ahead of the State of the Nation address to be delivered by the President tomorrow. And government spokesperson on finance and economics, Daniel Kwabena Ochim, has defended government's appetite for borrowing on 3FM Sunrise Morning Show. He said the current state of the economy is bright as government continues to borrow to transform the economy.
Ghana's public debt as of October was over 170 billion cedis, but government spokesperson on finance and economics, Daniel Kwabena Ochim, says the government is borrowing to transform the economy.
The financial crisis that we inherited, that was not just the only debt. There are other debts that we have to pay. For instance, go and look at Ghanaian workers. For 7 years, they chased our friends in NDC that their pension should be moved into that second tier, whatever it was. This government came in, and after 7 years of cry, he said, let me give them 3 billion towards the...
Daniel Ochim, who is also the member of the Finance Committee of Parliament, said the current state of the economy looks bright.
Ghana is getting better. We have a government that is highly respected. We have just passed what we call Fiscal Responsibility Act. We have certain, revenues that are coming in. We are getting more oil. Let me just borrow to make sure that I'm able to produce things that markets that will ultimately yield more revenue for us. That is what we call responsible borrowing.
But Professor of Economics at the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research, ISE, Peter Quarty, says people are refusing to pay taxes, and that is a drain on government initiatives.
I can see the difficulty. Not many people like to pay taxes in our country. Very few people are paying taxes. It's amazing the number of people who pay income tax. So certainly government have to follow import duties and the like. And that is also a major challenge. Most businesses are complaining that now there's too much import duty. So I believe we certainly have to find innovative ways of raking in the informal sector.
All right, so following from the last State of the Nation address just about a year ago, there have been a number of significant happenings in the economic front. We know, for instance, the central bank has successfully completed its cleanup and restructuring exercise in a badly managed banking sector. We know the city, for instance, has since jumped bail through depreciation. It's depreciated, in comparison to its major trading currencies. We know, for instance, that the general comment would be there's no money in our pockets. Government can point to significant economic strides chalked over the last 12 months. Let's just do a bit of analysis on this issue ahead of the State of the Nation address. Joining me via Skype to delve into this matter a bit more, to find out what to expect from the president tomorrow is Emmanuel Amwa-Dakwa. He is a columnist who writes for several online and print media platforms on the economy. He's also a social commentator. Emmanuel, thank you very much for your time, and good to have you on the program. So we heard from the president last year. He complained bitterly about the rate of unemployment in the country. A year on, have we seen much strides been made?
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to our viewers. In the area of unemployment, there are three major forms of unemployment: cyclical, structural, and frictional. But what we have seen in Ghana over the past years is structural unemployment, which means that the economy is not expanding that much to produce jobs. But on the contrary, we've seen an economy that has recorded significant growth, and even in 2017, growing about 8.5%, and a rebase figure of 8.1%. But with that growth, did we generate the kind of jobs that we were looking at? And then the answer is going to be no, which means that we should deliver growth with jobs, which we are looking for. But if we look at the level of unemployment in our country, it has been described as a national security threat and also a human security threat. Should government invest a lot in the private sector, or should government policy inure to the private sector's gain? They'll be able to employ a lot of people. And we should also bear in mind that we are just exiting from a fund program, which meant that we could not employ a lot of people, especially the only exception was in health and education. And even with that exception, not much employment. We didn't see a lot of jobs in those sectors. But once we are exiting the fund, we expect that government would employ a lot of people in the public sector. But the caution should be, if you look at that component of the budget, looking at the recurrent expenditure, the size of our public debt, the interest we pay on our public debt, the salaries we pay, and also we pay our public sector employees. Government should be cautious so that you don't employ a lot of people that you might not be able to have the capacity to pay, which we see.
Sit up a bit for me, Emmanuel. I need you to sit up a bit for me. Thank you very much. Now, in terms of macroeconomic fundamentals, the indices appear quite good. Talk of inflation, talk of the policy rate, for instance. But one gray area remains the local currency. The cedi has depreciated sharply against its major trading currencies. I mean, you look at the cedi to dollar ratio, for instance, and it doesn't look very much impressive. We know that it's been a key campaign message by the vice president in opposition then, Dr. Bawumia. Not much has been done about that.
The current rate of depreciation of the cedi can largely be attributed to repatriation of profits, both from corporations and from bonds. If you look at Ghana's economy, largely majority of the ownership in the key sectors, i.e. banking, insurance, telecommunications, are owned by foreigners. So what it means is that once a company declares profits, these profits will have to be repatriated to their parent companies. And basic demand and supply will mean that there's going to be, that drain on the Ghana cedis. Again, if you look at the laws now, non-resident investors can invest in Ghana's economy, and they are allowed to also repatriate profits. And looking at the public debt figures we have now, between external and domestic, it's almost around 50%. So it means that those who have invested in our bonds, by close of year, they would also want to repatriate their profits to their home countries.
We're about exiting the International Monetary Fund program, and over the last 3 years, it's been that of austerity, which has led to a contraction of the economy. And there's been a lot of talk, especially by the finance minister, of measures to expand, meaning that there's going to be a lot more spending this year. Now, beyond that, what more do you expect the president to talk about?
Beyond that, once we are coming out of the fund program, we shouldn't erase the gains we have made so far in terms of the fiscals, because the government has done quite well in terms of managing the fiscal deficit. It should be sustained. Once it is sustained, it will also have to trigger into our public debt and how we can reduce our public debt. Once we're able to do these two things, it can affect the other macroeconomic indicators. But going forward in 2019, and I expect the president to be talking about a lot of issues about the banking sector. We are not out of the woods yet. We just finished with reforms, but we should consolidate the reforms so that we'll be able to get the gains. Because the banking sector is like the bloodline of any economy. Once the banking sector is not doing well, it affects every facet of the economy. We are coming out of a cleanup. We should consolidate regulation. We should consolidate the very things that we've been able to do over the past 2 years so that the banks will be able to support the productive sectors of the economy. That is what we look out for, so that the economy will be able to grow as expected.
We've seen industry grow a bit more under this current government. Services has not performed pretty well. Agriculture has also made some few gains. On the general, how do we improve on agriculture?
Improving on agriculture, one key thing I'm going to talk about will be providing insurance policy for agri, because the risk involved in going into agri is still high. Government has indicated that it's going to come out with sort of an insurance policy through banks, so that if you want to go into agro-processing, the risk involved in going for such credit from the bank will be lesser than any other person going to do any other business. So I look forward to mitigating the risk involved in going into agriculture. For the past 2 years, we've seen some bottlenecks in terms of fall armyworm and all those kind of things. I expect a lot of research to go into that area so that government will be able to gain a lot from the planting for food and jobs.
Emmanuel, I've got to say a big thank you to you. Thanks very much for joining us on the program. Emmanuel is an economist helping us to do some analysis ahead of the States of the Nation address to be delivered in Parliament tomorrow by the President. And speaking of Parliament, the leadership of the House has expressed their disgust over the continuous absenteeism of members. Now, at the commencement of today's proceedings, Majority Leader Osei Mensah Bonsu said an appearance in the chamber is the only evidence that an MP has attended to the work of Parliament. The First Deputy Speaker, Joe Osei, also revealed that some MPs signed the register on behalf of their colleagues. The Speaker, however, didn't give any ruling on the development, but said the concerns will be forwarded to the Parliamentary Service Board.
The starting point is the chamber, and you can only hold committee meetings after we've adjourned. If it's very necessary, sought permission from the Majority Leader and, for that matter, leadership, so that you then now be authorized to go and have that meeting. By the way, we are really running the chamber, Mr. Speaker. I'm seriously worried, just like Majority Leader has reiterated, because today it's not like 10 years ago or even 8 years ago. We have GTV government. Mr. Speaker, that telecast from your walking in till you're walking out, and it's played to Ghanaians, and then they see the chamber half empty, or most of the time virtually empty. Yet, if anybody picks the vote and proceedings and try to relate it to what he or she have viewed on television, will simply be creating the impression that whether we members of this House are really honorable. Because issue of integrity will be seriously at stake. So, Mr. Speaker, I think we need to deal with this thing today. Yes, the IT can be helpful. I have even suggested to the Director IT that if acquiring all the gadgets to each of the seats is a problem, Mr. Speaker, we have about 6 entrances. Let's start with those entrances. So when you are entering from whichever entrance, you clock in before you come and sit. And when you are going, at the end there, you clock out again. At least as a starting point, once it gives them time to be able to sort each of the 275 seats having the what we call the IT gadget. What it means is that appearance inside this chamber is the only evidence that we have attended to the business of Parliament. That is how it is. Mr. Speaker, these other matters that my colleagues, the Chief Whip for the minority, is raising regarding clocking in and clocking out. Just to emphasize the point that it is only when you are here that you should be recognized as having attended at Parliament. The Speaker, the issue raised, that is with respect to members attending to the business of certain committees and wanting to be marked as having been present in the chamber, is untenable.
We create a forum whereby work is manifestly being done. And then we may have to take some other decision, not consistent with what is happening at the forum. A quick one, because I believe this matter deserves very, very serious consideration. Nevertheless, as for the formal signing in, so that you will go then to committee or wherever work, including vetting. As yesterday, I'm being advised, the tender committee met and decided upon the award of a contract. I'm just being informed. We will know what happens to that. And I advise that leaders should please, the two leaders, should kindly meet soon after this and know the state of that matter and how to a conclusive decision is taken.
Away from Parliament, let's take a quick ride to the Ashanti region, where the Office of the National Democratic Congress says it has beefed up security ahead of the party's presidential primaries on Saturday, following the shooting incident at the party office in Kumasi on Monday, which claimed one life and injured another. About 43,000 delegates in 47 constituencies in the region are expected to cast their ballots. Ashanti regional correspondent Beatrice Pio-Gabra spoke to the party's regional secretary on preparation.
Saturday?
I'll rate it very high. We have had a number of engagements with our constituency executives. We have dispatched notice of polls that have been placed in virtually every electoral area within the region. And apparently we have discussed with the organizers, the constituency organizers, means and ways by which people who from distant places could have access to the voting centers, cast their ballots on the 23rd of February. So preparations are far advanced.
How many delegates are we looking at, or any?
Each constituency will have a polling or a voting center. So all 47 constituencies will be having a voting center, and about 43,000 delegates, eligible voters, will be casting their ballots on the 23rd of February across the region.
How is security at we don't encounter or record any security mishap with the delegates and supposed supporters of some of the aspirants?
We have officially written to the police service, the police administration in the region, and we are scheduled to have a meeting with them. The Regional Executive Committee will be having a meeting with the Regional Police Command to finalize preparations towards elections. But one decision we have taken as a party is that we do not expect to have delegates mass at voting centers. It is an election, it is not a conference, which means aspirants will not be available to address delegates. All the aspirants will be virtually where they choose to be, because voting will be held concurrently in all 276 centers countrywide. So aspirants couldn't have had opportunity. National elections. Delegates should come. Where there are queues, they should queue. When it is their turn, they are issued their ballots and they cast their ballots and go home. As to the announcement of who has won and who has lost, I'm sure they can monitor that on the various media platforms. So we encourage delegates not to mass up at voting centers. I think that is one difficulty we have encountered in times past. When people mass up, that the tendencies for law and order to break down are high. But we are very certain that our delegates are very law-abiding citizens, and they will not mass up at the various voting centers. As much as the onus lies on us to close ranks, we would also extend the olive branches to would-be quote-unquote losers, that they should be charitable in lose and recognize that it is an election, and at the end of the day, it is only one person who would emerge victorious. So they should also predispose themselves for reconciliation. I am certain for those of us whose duty it is to pull all of them together, we know our work. We'll do everything possible to close ranks, but we are appealing to them that by 5 p.m. on the Saturday, 23rd of February, when the voting is over and subsequently the results are declared, they should avail themselves and they should come on board with a good heart, so we can bring all of them together and drive a solid, a united, and a formidable party forward towards elections 2020.
Thank you very much. You heard me speak with the Regional Secretary of the NDC, Kwame, who is telling us that about 43,000 NDC card-bearing members would be voting on Saturday to elect a flag bearer for the party 2020. And also he's appealing to those who will lose at the end of the elections to stretch out to all of them so that they will have a united party as they forge ahead to recapture power, hopefully for them in 2020. Beatrice Gabra, TV3 News, Kumasi.
Meanwhile, flag-bearer aspirants for the National Democratic Congress, Dr. Gabra, says after waiting in line for 13 years, the time is due for him to leave the party.
Constituency offices are in kiosks, containers, somebody's backyard, somebody's kitchen. It's not good enough for a party that wants to stand strong and be there permanently for Ghana. So helping us become stronger, networking our offices, providing them with equipment, laptops, internet access. Nobody's talking about it. I'm the one talking about it.
Dr. Gabra is confident he would emerge victorious when the party goes to the poll on Saturday.
But the main aspect is ideas, and the second aspect is organization, and the third aspect, as I've demonstrated, is financial strength. And so I'm addressing all these things.
Right, so today on our MTN video report, Secho from We Akloboji in the Volta region reports on the state of a public toilet built over 2 decades ago.
This is 1998 toilet facility constructed for We Akloboji community to serve about more than 5,000 people. Since then, this building haven't seen any rehabilitation. It's still like this, and it will interest us to know that so many people troop in, day out, to use it. For somebody to take the mantle and do it, we are not seeing anything like that to put this building into proper shape. For NTN video report, I am Secho of Yalem Rashi, reporting from We Akloboji.
Hello and welcome to the Business News segment on Midday Live here on TV3. Now, the Africa Center for Energy Policy has cautioned Parliament not to approve GNPC's advancement of $250 million to the Energy Ministry to finance its operations and the energy sector challenges. These are part of recommendations by ASEB after a thorough assessment of GNPC's expenditure patterns since 2011. Now, in a statement signed by Executive Director Benjamin Boakye, it accused the GNPC of focusing a significant part of its revenue on acquiring assets unrelated to its core business. Since 2011, the cumulative investment of $716 million in the corporation was expected to provide consistent cash flow to prop its work into a commercial player to harness the interest of the states in petroleum sector. However, unlike other oil companies like Cosmos and Tallow, GNPC has not shown much focus and commitment to what they set out to do. ASEP accused the GNPC of lending to government, bloating its staff strength, annexing government social commitments, and showing a poor understanding of the Ghanaian context in many of the projects it has committed to in the recent past. The energy think tank went further to caution Parliament not to approve any CSR budget for the corporation until the end of the 15-year financing window provided in the PRMA has elapsed. In other news, retailers of kerosene in Wa in the Upper West regional capital are lamenting over the decline in their business, which they attribute to the massive rural electrification and the emergence of rechargeable lamps. Currently, they have to sell empty receptacles to survive. My colleague Yakubu Abdul Ghaffar has the rest of the story.
These women have been in the kerosene business for more than 20 years and can no longer make a living out of it due to its low demand. They've now resorted to selling receptacles to survive.
The business has collapsed. We used to go to village markets to go and sell, but most of them now have electricity, and so we don't buy again as a result. We also now sell empty gallons after the collapse.
Ajara Idrisu says she remains in the business because she does not want to disappoint the few customers who still use kerosene cooking stoves.
People don't buy again due to that. We now sell gallons. That is what I have to say. They bought torchlight and electricity, which collapsed the business.
We traveled further to Kalahi, a farming community without electricity in the Wa East district. Here, residents rely on solar lamps and dry cell torchlights due to the unavailability of kerosene.
We were using them, but the torchlights are now available. So we now use that. The kerosene gets finished quicker, but the battery lasts longer.
They, however, keep their kerosene lanterns.
We no longer get the kerosene to buy. That is why we don't use the lanterns.
Kerosene lamps were extremely useful, particularly in rural communities without electricity.
Well, that's all for the business news segment on Midday Live. For more business news stories, you can log on to our website, www.3news.com. We'll take a short break. When we return, we'll bring you the very latest news from Nigeria.
How good is your acting? Are you the next big star waiting to be discovered? This could be your opportunity to show the world what you've got. Get your forms now at 3news.com and submit your completed copy at the front desk of TV3. Now your dreams can become reality. Get your forms and get into character. The next top actor is open to anyone, anywhere in Ghana.
Auditions are on the 22nd and 23rd of February. Terms and conditions apply.
Good day, Ghana. I'm Angela Marquis. Before Fat to Fit, I weighed 105 kilograms. But After the exercise and diet that they put us on, I lost a whopping 13 kilograms. I have a proud weight now of 92 kilograms, but I intend to lose more weight this season. Log on to 3news.com and register with 3FM Fat to Fit Season 6. See you there.
This week on Music. It's your boy B right here. Fatia Fatan Kuma don't know be na me woman all day. Surely asasi query yeah cry you be my babe. Missing me phobia just say unkoa. We be like Aki and Popon. Nobody go fit to break our bondo. Abayo.
Still can't believe this. I can't believe I can't take control of myself. Babe, makuma bo me bang bang bang. Me feel and answer me now my own corner me kosu. Say I love you, baby. The first time you gave me that answer, that you're gonna be my lover. You should have seen my face. You should have seen my face. Forget about them. Nobody could feel love you like I do. I do.
Music. It's you don't want to miss this.
Brought to you by Adonko.
The battle is on. Who wins the bragging rights as the best tertiary business school in Ghana? Graphic Business, in partnership with the Ministry of Business Development, presents the Tertiary Business Sense Challenge. The hot seat, one winner. Join us at the British Council from the 18th to the 22nd February 2019. Time 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. daily. Come cheer your school on to victory. Participating schools are UG Business School, KNUST Business School, UPSA, Wisconsin University, University of Education Winneba, Methodist University, AUCC, UCC, UDS, Dominion University, GTUC, GIMPA. This project is partnered by ICAG, Fidelity Bank, BIC, Glycolife, British Council, Passion Air, and Accra Brewery Limited, with technical support from CIMG, ICAG, and SIMA. Media partners: TV3, 3FM 92.7, Unia 95.1 FM, Connect 97.1 FM, 3news.com. The Business Sense Challenge, the hot seat, ready? Graphic Business, setting the business agenda.
From the biggest investor to the petty trader, the stocks and commodities market affect every business and city in the economy. On Biz Brief, our business is to get you up-to-the-minute updates on the local and global markets at the end of every day's trading and its implications on your business and investments. Biz Brief, timely, relevant, and accurate.
Biz Brief shows Monday to Friday at 4:30 p.m. on TV3.
Hello, good afternoon. It's time to do sports here on Midday Live. My name is Yao Ofosulabi. Now, right, so many things in today's fashion and lifestyle world are frowned upon by society. Now, one is the portrayal of women as sex objects in movies and music videos. But Nollywood actor Ramsey Noah finds the trend okay. He told my colleague Owusu Warai that sex is appealing, and that's what drives the world today.
Sexuality is what's actually driving the world today. It's not just in the music videos, everywhere. You know, you think about it. Even women want to feel their sexuality. You know, they don't want to be like all caged up. You know, basically they want to feel it. So if you want to and you want to go open wide on it, now, like I said, for me or some of us will frown to it. Well, it's a new age, a new world.
There some regulation of this one.
You know, basically when we were acting and we were doing movies back in the days, it was pretty hard to actually kiss a girl in the movie. Today now we kiss with ease, you know, and they don't frown to it anymore. Back in the days, they used to do the musical movies and they didn't used to show so much nudity or sexuality. But today they're doing it. And it's what's moving for them. And even some of these girls, they like what they're doing. It's not as if they're being pushed at gunpoint. Now, if we want to have, by virtue of moral binding, political, you know, circle saying, okay, fine, we do not want this, then let the government, let them come and say, fine, in our music videos, we don't want this.
That was also where I speaking there to Ramsey Noah. Elsewhere, music legend Mary J. Blige has said the ongoing feud between artists Cardi B and Nicki Minaj is negative for women in a male-dominated industry. Tension between the New York City natives was renewed on their home turf when Cardi and Minaj got into a physical altercation at a party. Mary J. Blige spoke out for the first time about the industry trying to pitch women like Cardi and Minaj against each other. Well, that's all for Midday Live. Thanks very much for watching. It came to you live from our studios here at Adesawe in Kandakra. We also stream live on Facebook. For more news, you can log on to our website, 3news.com. My name is Parker Siasari.